Okay. So what do you want to talk about?
I think we should just kick it off like with confetti and say, here's another amazing powwow between Perseus of Argos and Archon of Graceland.
Is it Argos or Argon?
Argos.
Oh, all right.
I mean,
Perseus of Argon.
well, it's Archon of Graceland and Perseus of Argos, where he came from. He was born. Although, that's a good test because when I put that out there, a lot of people in India are like, what is that? So I don't want to, it's a little too abstract.
I don't know. Wasn't that the Golden Fleece guy?
That's Jason.
Who's Perseus? Perseus was the guy that saved the girl from the monster, right?
Well, yes, but he was also the one who, part of his quest was to slay the Gorgon, Medusa, the
Oh, right.
the creature that the power of that monster was to petrify people and turn them into stone, which is interesting to me. And I took on that alias because I thought it was very instructive of the kind of quote unquote monsters that we deal with in political world, whose power really just comes from projection, just like Medusa. And the story with Perseus is that you can't go up to this kind of monsters and confront them because you'd be petrified. You'd be buying into their projections. So Athena, the goddess of war and strategy, bequeathed him a very reflective shield and a sword, and he used that to maneuver and slay and cut off the head of the Gorgon, Medusa. I thought it was just for me, it was just that there's a lot of parallels there to be drawn. Sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent,
No, it's
but
okay. I, I I remember you told me that once, but I'd forgotten the whole story.
yeah.
So I'm happy that you reminded me.
What's the story with Archon?
I made it up.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
The so there's the Greek word archon, which essentially means ruler. If you recall, I think the Athenians had three archons, sort of are the precursors to. Polemachus is the executive, the military. Basilius is more the sort of religious side, or the cultural side, and then Eponymous are like the judges.
Oh, okay. Well, now I know Archon.
And then so
Of
the archon is just some guy, who's one of those functions, just a guy in charge of something. And then Graceland was I got that from the Paul Simon song, which I always liked, which was Graceland. I have reason to believe we all shall be received in Graceland.
I think maybe sometimes it's better to let people run with what they imagine it, because what I imagine was I mean, your explanation is pretty cool, but I just had this idea of like a very cool poster from the 80s and 70s of these sword and sorcery character Archon of Graceland.
No, it's more about being this imaginary land that kind of has the same vibe as Elvis Presley's estate in Tennessee.
That's very cool.
Um, no,
I
it's
think
amazing. It's an American pilgrimage site. It's like
really it's
you have to go.
quintessential Americana, Graceland.
It almost like transcends Americana. So when I traveled all over the country with my software business, so I'd often finish a meeting and then I'd have like 6 hours with nothing to do before my flight. So I'd go look around for something kind of weird to do in the area or on the way to the airport. So I ended up going to all these things.
What a cool life. I didn't
The,
know that. I just learned that about you. So
you
that's
know,
pretty cool.
so if you go to Graceland, go on like a Tuesday at 2:00, because those are when the true believers go. You see, like there's people like at Elvis's grave, kneeling, praying. They got the flowers. It's a total pilgrimage, and they are there to worship the king. And the jungle room is preserved. It's everything is exactly as it was when he lived there. Then there's a little museum of his life that kind of shows the different stages of his fame and fortune, and his rise, and then his ultimate descent into drug addiction and death, and it's completely fantastic. So, in terms of, I'm just grinding back to DarchWorld. Which I always see as a kind of a Graceland, any sort of mad new world that somebody kind of invents or some group of people invent has that kind of Graceland vibe or Graceland feel to it. Because that's one of the reasons I liked going to Graceland, was you could just tell it was, Elvis made this place to be this kind of vision of what he thought cool was.
What I think maybe I think I should look into Graceland then, because I'm very interested in what we are making. I'm always interested in threading in things that are intuitive to people, things that resonate with people. Like, one things we're trying to thread to is the Christian theme, and I use that broadly, without getting too into denominational, because that is part of Americana.
Right. Well, I mean, Elvis was a gospel.
Yes.
I mean, like that.
So.
Yeah. Well, it's that sort of tremendous sense of freedom and liberty that you get out of the Christian story, right? I mean, it's it starts with the Moses leading the tribe out of Egypt, and then it just keeps going with this idea of always transcending hierarchies and orthodoxies and reinventing with this kind of endless process of trying to get closer to what's better.
We are, as we're iterating along, we realize that money and time is going to be an interesting, a fun, a necessary thing in the DarchWorld experience, because that's what it comes down to. So if we're going to have when we're trying to solidify the Christian game narrative, we've decided that money is going to play a role in that. Money, that giving people the ability to change how money is created, value, and all that.
Yes, that's going to be the fun part, is trying to create a kind of currency within the game and see if that currency can maybe break out of the game and exist in the real world at the same time, and as a kind of a cryptocurrency that straddles both worlds. That I think other people have explored that. It's you run into all kinds of regulatory issues and fun legal issues that I'm sure we'll have a good time trying to sort out. But yeah, definitely that's the goal, is to try to make dark points into dollars and find where the intersection of those two things are.
It's a topic that we should always keep in view philosophically, that certain people are trained to play the game longer, right? Long-term, like investors and all that, they know how to play that game longer. Most people just don't. They just want like this. And that's part of I feel like there's a whole scheme that doesn't allow people to play that bigger game. It's the long game. And that's one of the things that you and I are trying to fix too, and for DarchWorld, is how do you sustain people's interests enough, because that for you to change things in the real world, it's not going to happen over, say, an election cycle necessarily, and you shouldn't be like, oh, you know what, it's not happening next week, therefore I should quit. And this is where we're trying to use money and time mechanism to compel people to just keep the long view and sustain their interest in action.
Yeah,
that's the idea with the signals, and if you quit this too early, there is a consequence. There's a penalty. You're going to lose what you put in initially, and that will I don't know if that's going to work out, but that remains to be seen.
Sure. Well, the idea is
Yeah.
if you can have some kind of score keeping system, what makes investing in public companies interesting is like every day you get a score, right? It's like, oh, the S&P was up, 0.5% today, so it gives you something to kind of think about, right? Whereas, if you just got your stock market quotes once a year, everybody would just get bored and wander off.
You just brought up something that's interesting. So it's almost like you've just suggested a feature actually.
Mhm.
Daily notifications. Was that
Yeah,
something that's helpful to like keep you? Hey, this signal went up in value or time,
absolutely.
kind of thing.
Yeah, because everybody's, it's just fun to see who did what and how it worked.
Mm.
But I mean, all these numbers have to have some meaning to them as well, right? You can't just be like random thing had a score of 12 because who cares and why does that matter? I mean, ultimately, I want to know what does that mean for me? So does the thing scored a 12? It's like, I think Bitcoin's stupid, but Bitcoin keeps going up. So I keep looking at it, and well, every time Bitcoin goes up, I have this huge like FOMO kind of like thing where I'm like, I was an idiot. Maybe I should have bought Bitcoin. I still think it's stupid, but I still have the FOMO every time I look at the number, and so there's a connection there.
Is that something? I'm gonna guess it's more of your department then. Like there's gonna be an opt-in setting, or is that gonna be automatic when you join DarchWorld that you will get daily notification?
Like, it's one of those things set it to
Standard.
on, and then if it pisses people off, it just click, stop bothering me.
Mm, okay. Okay.
But I don't know. We'll learn that quickly with the first few hundred users, right? If everybody says, fuck off, then that's not a fun feature, is it? This Wesley Yang book, I think you'll enjoy it. I'm listening to it as an audio book.
Is it it's an audiobook. I gotta have to buy it.
It's
Okay.
a book too, but I just listen to it as an audio. It's it's not a very, not to disparage the guy. He's a good dude and a good writer, but it's not like it's not like you're reading, super complicated, dense text. I mean, it's very narrative and very easy to read or easy to listen to. There's a
I
series of essays about his experience as an Asian American and just sort of talking about it kind of candidly.
okay. Interesting. I figured that from the yellow souls as a giveaway.
Well,
Although when I saw that, it reminded me of what people used to call me in Singapore. They had a pejorative for me. They
I'm
call me a
sorry.
banana. They call
Yeah,
me a banana.
I learned what that word was in the book.
Oh, really? He was called a banana too?
Apparently, lots of Asian people are called bananas, according to the
In
book.
that in that part of the world, they call it bananas.
It's
If
like
they
it's an Asian dude that acts like a white person, right?
And I don't know what that means. I still don't know what that means. But
Oh,
the advantage for me is maybe I got to look up at this Yang guy. What his experience is. I'm bilingual. If I go to that part of the world, I can just blend right in. I'm not going to speak English, and I can get by, and they wouldn't know that. You know. But when you open your mouth and speak English, you get a lot of flack for some people for some reason. At some parts where you go, like the Commonwealth countries are fine.
right.
The non-Commonwealth countries, and you meet some Chinese person there, and you speak English, they look at you like you are a sellout. That's their problem. I don't know what that is. But
That's
look it up.
probably a bit of jealousy too, right? I mean,
I think that yes, I think that's what it is. It's jealousy.
like I mean, even the white guys that are really good at Chinese, I always think, traitor. But I think if I had to ask myself candidly what's going on, it would be like, I wish I could speak Chinese too. That's cool.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna give you an insider thing. Okay, universally, whether it's bananas or no,
Yeah.
if there is a white guy speaking Chinese, that's not impressive to Chinese people. It's like this guy is trying to be something he's not. that's like no one's ever impressed with that. It's like, go join the circus, be an
Well,
act.
I'm
Yeah.
impressed.
You're impressed? Well, I think they do that to impress their own kind, but it doesn't impress native speaker. That's
Well, that's good. It makes me feel less bad about my complete inability to
no,
speak.
it does. You don't come across as very cosmopolitan just because you could speak Mandarin. It's not interesting. Now, if you speak French, I'm going to tell you this right now. Here's another insider thing, cultural thing, cultural insider 101. Universally, French, German, and Russian, for some reason, for Chinese people, and I think for Koreans and Japanese too, are placed up there for some reason. I mean, universally to just outside of mainland China, like just France always had an esteem, has a prestige
Yeah.
thing with East Asian people, and
It's
I don't know whether it's because maybe France wasn't as active in East Asia.
pretty active.
Besides Vietnam, of course, in Indochina. So it was like, oh, those people are cool. But even in Vietnam itself, there is this thing about you see, depending on who you ask in Vietnam, the French were either colonizers. But if you ask my one of my relatives who is from Vietnam, the French were seen as bringing culture to Vietnam, which is not a politically correct thing to say in some quarters.
I think that what the French do brilliantly is they somehow make communism look kind of cool and fancy.
Exactly. That's what it is. There's
Like
something about
every other communist culture is just like big gray blocks and sad people and bread lines, but somehow like the French make communism look like this thing where we're all like fabulously dressed and sipping, little coffees in a coffee shop talking about philosophy all day or something. But the reality,
and you brought up a good point. Most of the totalitarian dictators from East Asia, their first exposure was to Marxism and communism is really through French thinkers, not the Russian ones.
Yeah, Paul Pot studied in Paris, right? I mean, everything Paul Pot learns about being a good totalitarian, he learns from French intellectuals.
Yeah, which is and I can imagine that's what was the appeal to the young people in the universities in that part of the world. Is like it's really more about it's cool, and we got to be cool. So if it means being a totalitarian to be cool, it's like be cool first and don't worry about being a totalitarian.
Chicks dig cool.
Yeah, just exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably why Chinese like the French thing.
Yep. So
well, good. I'm glad we solved the mystery.
yes,
So if you want to impress Chinese people, then learn French.
there you go. Learn French.
Don't learn Chinese.
Don't learn Chinese. Speak French.
And if you want to impress the white people, then learn Chinese. Because they all think you're a China expert then.
Although given this climate, I don't know whether speaking Chinese, but like this guy is like, there's another pejorative. It's called white monkey. I don't know whether you heard of it. The term meaning someone who is yellow on the inside, white on the outside. But came from mainland China. It's like they are Caucasians who speak Mandarin, but they are really there to serve the interests of the CCP. They are the white face of the CCP in the outside world. Yeah.
Cool. White monkeys.
White monkeys.
Say it again, because I'm sure anybody watching this is probably like me. Like I don't speak Chinese. I have no idea.
Oh sure, it's Bai Hou Zi. Bai Hou Zi. Bai is white.
Bai.
And Hou Zi is the Mandarin for monkey.
Bai Hou Zi.
Yeah, there you go. Bai Hou Zi. Now say it in a French accent. Say Bai Hou Zi.
Nobody can understand anything.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything else that we need to talk about, or should we just wrap it up? I think we're coming up on 40 minutes.
I haven't done much this week just because day gigs keeping me busy. But we and I know were we planning to do a regroup?
Yeah, you're coming for dinner on Sunday, aren't you?
Okay, sure. Yes.
I mean, you don't like. I have it.
No,
on
no,
my
no. I got to bring you a belated birthday cake.
Excellent chocolate.
Of course, chocolate. I don't have anything to show for our regroup, but I'm
I got a couple things I want to run by you that I think will be easier in person.
yeah. But it's just important to keep on schedule. So the next week, a day gig should just kind of calm down a little and have more time to work on the front end. So for our audience who happen to be watching this, I am responsible for doing the front end part. I'm the skin part of it.
Tom's
And
doing
Dave,
everything.
I'm not doing everything. I hope not. There is the front end, back end. My background is in front end development. David comes from a very extensive back end background, having owned a couple of companies, and you're familiar with how to make sure those things work, and it's not just all surface. We always have people who dream big, but they don't know how to.
Speaking of dreaming big, did you see that we should definitely go public in a special purpose vehicle like Trump did with his social media?
Okay, David, I got to be honest with you. I feel like that market is saturated. I don't know what the point is. I think that was kind of lame. I mean, that's just my feeling. I did not get excited. I want to tell. I'm not being.
Tom, I thought Bitcoin was lame, but I was wrong.
Bitcoin is still lame.
I agree.
Because I've been involved a lot of collabs that just stupid and just didn't pan out. But I got a good feeling that if we.
Yeah, this will be fun. Whatever, it's gonna be cool and pretty anyway. It's gonna work, so that's all that matters. See if people like it.
Yep.
Awesome.
So that's that. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up and hang on a sec here.
There's a lot of good stuff here, by the way, we covered.
I agree. All right. Bye.
Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.